Hey, I built this backyard sauna completely from scratch. Honestly, this is probably the best thing I've ever built. So today, while I finish a bunch of projects that I should have done months ago, I'm gonna go through the 8 things that I wish I knew before building this backyard sauna. Starting with the thing that affects almost every other decision, size.
The size of your sauna matters a lot. Too big and it takes longer to heat up and costs more in materials. Too small and it feels cramped instead of relaxing. The mistake is starting with the outside dimensions. I think you should start with the inside dimensions, specifically the benches. How many people do you actually want to fit? Do you want someone to be able to lie down? Do you want 2 bench levels? Where does the heater go? Where does the door swing? Where are people's feet, heads, and shoulders actually going to be?
Once you decide on your minimum interior dimensions, then you add the thickness of the tongue and groove boards, burring strips, studs, and insulation, until you reach your total exterior dimensions. In my case, I added about 8 inches to the width and length, giving me a 7-foot by 6-foot sauna. But don't forget to plan the height too.
If I were doing this again, I'd raise my benches about 3 inches and drop the heater about 2 inches. That would get my head higher into the heat pocket and put my feet in a better position above the heater.
You'll notice my ceiling is dead flat though. That part I got right. It doesn't follow the slope of my roof. Check out episode 1 to learn why most people get their ceilings completely wrong. Planning the benches first is the difference between a relaxing sauna and a warm shed. Now that we've talked about designing the interior, let's talk about heating it.
The heater is only part of the system. I went with a 6 kilowatt electric heater, but this applies to wood-fired heaters too. I just prefer electric because it's simple, it heats up quick, and there's no firewood, smoke, ash, or mess. What I mean is that the stones matter more than the heat source. They hold the heat, they produce the steam when you throw on water, and they create the lola, the intense, enveloping heat saunas are known for. My stones work, but they were a little too big to pack nicely around the elements. If I did it again, I'd choose proper sauna stones that are small enough to sit around the elements without forcing them in or blocking airflow. The other thing people underestimate is the hidden costs. It's not just the heater. If you go with wood-fired, it's the chimney kit and the heat shielding for the floor and walls. If you go with electric like me, it's the breakers, connectors, hangers, cable, and labor if you're not doing it yourself. The 8.2 Tech 90 cable I used was around $15 per meter. If I'd gone up to a 9 kilowatt heater, I would have needed 6.2 cable, which is closer to $22 a meter. I've got about 20 meters of distance here, so you do the math.
So don't just ask what heater should I buy, ask what does the whole heater system cost? We built this sauna in the wintertime, which means the ground was far too frozen to bury this cable. So now we get to do the task that we were kind of pretending didn't exist. Having to dig this trench and bury the cable is an example of that hidden cost of that whole entire heater system. While he finishes digging that trench, I'm going to do a few touch-ups. In episode 1, we installed this massive window using a tempered glass railing that we found for free on Facebook Marketplace. Still one of my favorite parts of the entire build, but it definitely changed the heat math.
This window works incredibly well. It brings in a ton of light, makes the sauna feel bigger, and gives you something to look at. And despite what a lot of people warn me about, it doesn't really fog up. Having the heater directly underneath probably helps. Many people also warn me that it would crack, and to that I say, it's tempered glass, and it hasn't cracked yet. But here's the trade-off. Glass loses heat. A lot of heat. The walls are insulated with rock wool that has an R rating of 14. This single pane of glass has an R rating of roughly 1. That's a massive difference. The sauna still gets up to around 85 degrees Celsius, but it takes longer than it would with a smaller or better insulated window. If I did it again, I wouldn't make the window smaller. The light is just too good. I'd either use multi-pane glass or I'd size up the heater with this window in mind from the beginning.
Did I mention this window is free? Okay, now let's talk drainage. Because building a sauna without a drain is kind of like building a car without an exhaust pipe. That was a weird analogy.
If you're building a sauna, you need to plan for water. People are throwing water on rocks, tracking in snow, mud, and sweating all over the place. That moisture has to go somewhere. There are two main ways to think about drainage. You can build the sauna floor like a shower with a sloped tile floor towards the center drain. Or, if you're building a wooden floor like I did, you still need a slope, you just create it differently. I shimmed my floor joists before laying down cedar boards, so the water would run towards a center drainage channel. It was cheap, simple, and it makes cleaning really easy. What I would change is the exit. I cut holes through the exterior wall, but I probably didn't need to. I could have stopped the V-channel a couple inches short and let the water drain completely out of sight underneath. Same concept, cleaner execution.
The other reason having a drain is so important is you can do this. Now that it's warmer out, we've been tracking a lot of mud in here, and that brings me to my next point.
Duckboards and benchbacks are not the sexiest sauna features, but they make a lot of sense. Duckboards keep your feet off the floor, help the sauna feel cleaner, and they're easy to remove and replace when they wear out. Benchbacks do the same thing for the walls. They keep sweat, oils, and grime off the cedar you spent all that time installing. With my drainage system, I can literally hose this sauna out, but over time, the boards that get touched the most will wear out. Duckboards and benchbacks are essentially sacrificial layers. Today, I'm taking the easy route.
There. This is not a beautiful artesian duckboard, but I own a mat. Next up, I need to seal this door sill here. After multiple heat cycles, a crack has opened up and it's letting in a big draft.
A sauna needs controlled airflow, not drafts. Ventilation is intentional. Intake, exhaust, baffles, and proper placement to move fresh air throughout the room. This little crack doesn't look like much, but tiny leaks can make the sauna cooler and less efficient.
It says it dries clear. I'm hoping it dries clear.
My vents work well, but I wish I had installed them before the tongue and groove went up. Ideally, the vent ducting should run cleanly from the outside through to the finished interior, with the vapor barrier sealed properly around it. I made mine work with a slightly ridiculous telescoping duct situation. It works, but it would have been cleaner if I'd planned it earlier. By the way, if you want to learn how to properly size and place your vents, including how I made this super sleek low-profile intake, check out episode 3.
Now that the drafts are sealed up, I can open this baffle a little more and control where the air is actually moving. And that brings me back to Lola. I think I'm saying that right? Because I'm losing mine every time I open this door. And this one simple design change would have prevented that.
As a reminder, Laola is that burst of hot steam that rises into the upper part of the room and gives a sauna its intense heat. Bench height, ceiling shape, heater placement, and ventilation all help create it. But here's the problem. If your door goes all the way to the ceiling, you lose a big chunk of that heat every time someone walks in or out. Ideally, the top of the door should stop at least 6 inches below the ceiling, so the hottest air stays trapped above it instead of pouring outside.
But unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that now, so let's move on to my last piece of advice, and that's to use sauna materials, not shed materials.
For sauna interiors, you want wood that can handle heat, humidity, and repeated drying cycles. Make sure to use either kiln-dried wood that has most of its moisture removed, or thermally modified wood that goes through a more intense heat treatment process. The reason this matters is shrinkage. If the wood still has too much moisture in it, the sauna is going to finish drying it for you. And when that happens, boards can shrink, gaps can open up, and suddenly you're staring through your nice cedar wall at shiny foil vapor barrier. Now this is mostly aesthetics, but when you've spent this much time and money on your sauna, aesthetics matter.
Same thing goes for lighting. I'm very happy with our beautiful exterior pot lights, but our interior light is just way too bright at night.
When I build my next sauna, I'll plan softer lighting from the beginning, either lower on the wall or recessed behind bench backs. Because a sauna shouldn't feel like a shed with a light bulb, it should feel calm and relaxing.
And right now, it kind of feels like a cedar-flavored police interrogation. So we just leave it off. And that brings me to my last piece of advice, and that's that if you're thinking about building your own backyard sauna, just start.
Building this thing, especially building it with my brother, was honestly as much fun as using it. Sure, I changed some things, but I don't regret building it for a second. You can buy a kit if the full DIY version feels intimidating, or you can watch videos like this, make a plan, make a few mistakes,
Made an error.
and learn the fun way. And that wraps up the sauna series. If you missed the 4-part build, you can watch the entire project from the ground up on my channel. There will be a version 2, and thanks to a subscriber's comment, I might even try building an entire sauna for under $1,000. So let me know if you'd watch that. But this isn't just a sauna channel. Next up, I'm transforming a plain bedroom into a nursery with custom wainscoting, renovating a kitchen, and tackling plenty more DIY projects. So subscribe to follow along. I'll see you in the next one.